Not done yet, though. This is at a macro level. This is how we figure out our year. You can also do this at a micro level on your days. You don't win by setting the biggest goals. Goal setting is not a competition. You win by executing on the goals. And if they're your goals and they're what you want to achieve, it's even better. What I've found is that the best goal system to set is not SMART goals. It's what I call big goals. And the reason why this system I think works best is it allows you to stack and get momentum and realize what's really important so that you can stay in the game the longest. A lot of times it's just who can stay in the game so that you can get to a point where you can achieve ultimately what you want to achieve. So setting big goals, it is B.I.G. It stands for the B is your bare minimum or your baseline. And I think the best way to do this, let's say it is about financials. You're starting a business and you want to know, what do I need to achieve? A lot of times we just come up with numbers that sound good: 100,000, 250,000, sounds good, million, whatever. What we want to do is get to what is the bare minimum that we need to make. If I'm leaving this job to go start this business, or I have a new year coming up and I want to figure out how much money do I need to make, we want to calculate all of our expenses. How much does life cost? How much will business cost in order to simply survive? What is my baseline? What is the bare minimum that I need to make? And that might be less than what you think you need to hit for your goals. But a lot of times what I've observed with working with coaching clients, or even in my own life or business, we don't realize how cheap or how expensive life really can be. It's like, maybe we don't need that. Maybe we can't get rid of that. So we want to figure out what is the bare minimum. And then we want to work from that level. So this is what I really need to make, because this will get rid of anxiety. This will get rid of stress. This will get rid of the spooky monsters under the bed that aren't really there. Because now we know we've put light on it. We got the flashlight and we looked under the bed and we realized those monsters aren't really there. The bare minimum is whatever it is. It's 50,000, 100,000. If you have a crazy lifestyle, maybe it's 250,000. But remember, these are not your ideal numbers. These aren't what you dream about being. These aren't the best, like the most extravagant lifestyle. These are the bare minimum. The ideal, that's next. That's the I. What's the ideal numbers that you want to hit? So what I've seen is the easiest way to figure this out. You just take your bare minimum, multiply it by 2. That should give you a pretty good lifestyle. If you can figure out what your bare minimum is, no matter where you're at, if you can just take your bare minimum, I mean, even if your bare minimum, you're committed to your kids being in private school, and to you, that's a bare minimum, times 2, you're living a good lifestyle. So let's say it's 100,000 a year is your bare minimum, times it by 2, 200,000. You should be able to take a nice vacation, put a little money aside at your ideal. What I've seen is most people are by default going somewhere around their ideal and then getting disappointed when they don't hit that number. But the number doesn't really mean anything to them. Whatever transaction count, number of sales, number of clients, number of customers, revenue, profit, whatever, the number doesn't really mean anything. They're kind of just pulling out of thin air because it feels good, or it sounds good, or it's 10% more than last year, or 20% more than last year. We want to put some real numbers to the numbers. So we start with the bare minimum, ideal, and then the G for the big goals is the game changing or ginormous. Simple number again. If we are doubling to find our ideal, the game changing number is probably 4x that. So let's say you're making 100,000, ideally, or bare minimally, you want to make 100,000 a year, ideally 200,000. would it not be a game changer for you if you made $400,000 a year if all of your money, if all of your debts can be paid with 100,000 and you 4 times that? So you just go, all right, if the most important thing is figure out, know your expenses. What are my expenses on this? In order to survive, it's this. So I'm going to at least hit those numbers. Let me calculate, let me do the math to hit those numbers. Then from there, I'm going to 2x that. Then from there, I'm going to 4x this. Not done yet though. This is at a macro level. This is how we figure out our year. You can also do this at a micro level on your days. Have you ever felt this way? One day you go into work and you feel like you can move mountains, and maybe you literally do. You just pick up that mountain, you move it to wherever it is that you want it to go to, and you feel amazing. And the next day you come into work and you don't feel like doing much. And maybe the day after that, you don't feel like doing much. There's some days where you just feel like doing, like, you feel amazing. You feel like nothing can stop you. Other days you feel like you don't even want to get started. We need to balance those out. And the easiest way to do that is identify on a micro level, your day-to-day, what are your big goals? What's the bare minimum that I need to do today? What would my ideal day look like? And then what would a game-changing day look like? What we want to do is eliminate the nothing days, the 0 days, so that we can create some consistency. So if you can identify, here's the bare minimum of what I want to accomplish every day, whatever that is, X number of calls, a post on social media, X number of emails, doors knocked, follow-up calls, whatever it is that that number represents for you. Figure out your bare minimum and then your ideal and your game changing. On the days where you feel amazing, go after the game changing. Ideal, we want to set those up. On the days where we don't feel like doing much, this will be game changing for you. If you focus on the bare minimum, if you just do the baseline, what is the bare minimum that I need to do? One thing, 5 things, whatever. Just move the needle a little bit. That will be more game changing for you than twice a month doing some game changing days. It's going to be on the days when you don't feel like doing anything, when you actually do something.